Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Unbreakable Life with Glory, the podcast, where we talk about depression, anxiety, and PTSD in a natural way, in a holistic way, to always make you feel better. And this is Gloria Goldberg, the founder and the creator of this amazing podcast. So today is Monday. I usually don't come on Mondays. Every time I come on Wednesdays in the morning, 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern Time. But sometimes you have wonderful guests that the only time they can is the days they can. And you know what? And my mission is not about a particular day. My mission is every day. And if my guests cannot be in Wednesday, we're going to do it any day of the week they can. So today is that happens. My guest is very special. Why I said it very special, because it's not none of the same style that I've been interviewing, because everybody who I bring here, they teach something, they're teachers, they are all kind of background. But today he have a background completely different of all my guests before. He don't sell anything to the public, but he only thing that he sells are cars. And you would say, cars? How I can bring somebody who sells car and come to talk about depression, anxiety, and PTSD? And the story that he have is amazing. And why is amazing? Hi, Angeline, how are you? Thank you so much, my dear, from New York. Thank you. So what I was saying is that he is very special to me, because I met him not too long ago, and we started having a conversation about traumas, physical traumas, and we start talking, and the conversation start open and open and open in a way that it was a very deep conversation about traumas. And I said, oh my God, I love your story. I want you to come and share your story with with the people who accompany me in my journey, because you suffer the same way I suffer with the physical traumas. And a lot of people will say physical traumas, not the traumas that somebody punch you or violate you physically. We're not talking about those physical traumas, because also those traumas, violent physical traumas, also they are very bad for you in a way that is very detrimental in your health, in your physical health, in your mind. So we talking today is about the physical traumas when you have a procedure, when you have a transplant, when they put something in your body, when you have an illness that they told you you're gonna die, or you have an illness that you said that is you need to be forever in some medication or in some treatment. All the kind of traumas are there, and people don't talk about it. And we're going to talk about today, there's two traumas that happens here tonight. He's going to tell the story what kind of trauma he had, and I'm going to also enjoy with the conversation about my trauma. And we're going to show you guys that everybody have the same emotions and the same effects when things happen to us. So before I continue in the deep conversation, I want to bring him in, and I'm going to welcome to Unbreakable Life with Glory, the podcast. And let's bring him Rohan Saxena. Let me see. I hope I say it right. Hi, how are you?
Hello, hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. It's an honor to have you, because I love your story and I want everybody to hear the story. But before we start with the story, I want you to tell everybody who is Rohan.
Thank you, Gloria. Rohan is obviously me, the person who you see in front of you. But to summarize Rohan is a boy who is born and brought up in India. Um, a very culture rich country, and I have been in America for almost 2.5 years now. I was here before for an internship, but long story short, I've been here for 2.5 years now. I have graduated, I've studied hospitality as my bachelor's and graduated out of it. And I was going to be working in the hotel industry, which was my uh, plan. But because of COVID and other things in life, I, got navigated to automotive industry. And currently I am working for Audi, or Audi, as they say in America. And I'm a brand specialist. I'm a leasing and sales consultant. My job is to, lease and sell Audi cars, and that's exactly what I do, and that's exactly how I met Gloria. I have had a major surgery in my life. It's, I think, something we'd be talking about eventually. It's a kidney
Yeah.
transplant that I had in 2013, and I was young back then. I was 14 or 13, 14 years old. So I think we're going to talk about that. So that was a major event in my life that that had a lot of effects in my current life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and which is something we'll talk about. So yeah, this is Rohan to answer Gloria's question. To answer your question, Gloria, this
Yes.
is me.
Okay, that's awesome. Rohan, so what was the age you had when you started having problems with the your kidney, right?
Yes. So, Gloria, I must have been 10 years or 11 years old at the time.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't any problems. No, there were, problems such as my height was not as, I wasn't as tall as some of my other friends. My skin complexion was a little abnormally dark, like, when you're unhealthy. So you can tell that there is something going on. And I had some bedwetting issues. Now, as a kids do that, what a 10-year-old kid doing that was a little uncommon, so it raised some questions. I
Yeah.
had difficulty eating, so my mom, every nutritious vegetable my mom had to feed and fight me to eat it. Um, I wouldn't eat too well, but my favorite things like ice creams and this I would eat in 2 minutes. But when it came to real food, I would not eat, and then I would throw up if it was forced. So I was 10, 11 years old, and that's how it started. We went to the doctors, and it went from there.
And so when you went to the doctor and they told you you have problems with your one of your kidneys, right?
Correct. So not so we went to a couple of doctors because the
Right.
first doctor we went to did not tell I have kidney problems. When I told him about, or when my parents described about the symptoms I had, they said, "Oh, he's a kid. He is
Right.
not eating because you are feeding him vegetables, and no kid likes to eat vegetables." Regarding bedwetting, yeah, it's a little uncommon, but some kids stop it later than sooner, so it's okay, it'll go away. And height, it's gonna be okay. Give him vitamins or give him, this medication or that medication. But there was this one doctor who was very smart, and he said, that sounds like a renal disease, and renal is a word used for kidneys.
Right.
So he ordered me an ultrasound,
Mm-hmm.
and in that ultrasound, we found out, and we were surprised, and we were obviously, set back by this fact that his kidneys are small, and not only they're small, but they're not also functioning is bad, and not one but both, because kidney is like a circuit. When one is bad, the other one becomes bad because it's like a circuit.
Right.
So we were, very, you're not expecting that. Oh, his kidneys are not working. Oh my God, what are we gonna do now? So that's how we knew. That was the phase one of the the announcing of the news. We learned that.
Right.
So that was the first punch that we got. So that's how we knew.
So you was like 11, 12 at that moment?
Correct. It was
S-
2010.
So
Yeah.
you as a kid, 11, 12, when you received that news, do you understand what was telling you about it? Do you was confused? What exactly was it, your emotions in that moment?
So, Gloria, theoretically I understood because I was, I could reason and understand, and I'd studied in biology classes what a kidney is and what a
Right.
digestive system is, so I knew. But I wasn't as emotionally scared as much as my parents were. I was like, okay, it's a problem. I'm probably going to eat some medications and I'll be fine. I
Right.
didn't even imagine, or I didn't even perhaps know what a transplant is. No idea. I was like, it's okay. It's just a doctor's visit. It's gonna be okay. It's
Right.
my parents are the one who were the main patients. They were the one who actually got the, oh, what are we going to do? But my thought process was like, okay, I took it very casually, to be honest with you, as a kid. Eventually, it got serious in my heart too with time.
Right.
But when it came to me first, I was like, okay, that's sad. That sucks. But I guess, well, it is what it is.
Wow. So let's talk about what was the treatments that they gave you that you said that in the car. Remember we was talking in the car that you hated and that caused you some major traumas. So
Yeah,
I want you to talk. I want you to tell me the story about your treatment until you get to the transplant.
sure. So, like I told you, when I received the news, I wasn't affected as much. But here's where things started changing.
Right.
Step one, your kidney is not working. Now, what are we going to do about it? We need to do more investigation and more processes to find out what kind of problem is it, how can it be cured, what is the ultimate solution, what is the long-term solution, right? So a part of those processes, I was ordered to do a lot of tests. So I remember one day, Gloria, this I wasn't told what kind of test it will be. They just told me it will be a test. So when you think of a test, you think maybe it'll be a blood test or it'll be, some kind of maybe a urine sample, who knows? So
Right.
I went, and there was this room. It was dark, and I had these medical professionals. So this test was very painful. And without being insensitive, so I apologize if I sound insensitive, but they take this needle, and they put it in your private part, and it is very painful.
Right.
And it's a thing to see how the liquids flow out, and then what happens. My basic problem was the urine goes up to the kidneys. I'll not get too scientific on
Right.
this,
Right. No. No. Right. Right.
but that was my first incident that made me realize, oh shit, this is it horrified me. And then what happens is once that process is over, every time you try to urinate, it hurts a lot.
Right.
So it's horrifying. That was my first situation where it started haunting me, that I have a situation because of which I have to go through such horrific and horrifying experiments or tests or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And now I was scared. Now I was not taking it as lightly anymore, because now every time my mom or my father said, okay, today we are going to the doctor, my heart would go, tuk, 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 tuk. And I was like, okay. And then eventually, you know, in search, like how when someone is trapped, they search for light, same like my parents in search of that little hope. We traveled the whole country. My parents did the best they could do, with their abilities to find a doctor. We went to all parts of India, north, south, east. Somebody would tell me, go to this place, that city, that is a very famous kidney doctor. Go to that city. We went everywhere because what my parents, they were like, everybody told us that he's a kid. He may not need transplant. He's still young. So maybe with medications, we can fix this. Maybe it's not too late. And with that hope, they would take me everywhere. So there were different tests that were being done on me. Um, Within medical field, there's different kinds of medical fields. There's a very famous medical field in India which is called homeopathy. It's like medicine. They put
Right.
some, there's different things. So we tried all of it. My mom, who's also a little religious and spiritual, even took me to the temple. Like, let's pray. And then the priest was doing his thing, that you go home
Right.
and you pray 5 times and you do this thing. And, so she was doing it out of her, with the intention that she will help
Right.
me.
Right.
That was her
Yes.
intention. So she
Right.
was doing that. My father was taking me to other scientific. My father was more practical, so he's taking me to all these doctors. But Gloria, 2.5 to 3 years passed away while we were doing this, and we were not seeing any improvement, because every time we would do the blood test and the results would come, the things were disturbed. My result was not good. It kept becoming worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point which, when one day my primary doctor, who we used to consult at the time, told me that transplant is the only solution, either transplant or dialysis. If you don't do one of these major steps, your kid may have he may lose mental balance, because there is a thing in your blood. It's called blood urea. It is supposed to be less than 30 units, but mine was 300. So it was very high.
Right.
And there's other things to creatinine. It's like, if you don't do this, then he may lose his mental balance, and then there may be other problems that be more out of hand. Now, obviously, if you're a parent and if a doctor is telling something like that, you're going to be like, okay, what do I need to do? Where do I need to
Right.
sign for that? So
Right.
we went for dialysis. Now, let me explain dialysis a little bit. Dialysis is a process. It's basically called as an artificial kidney. What they do is you lay on a bed for 4 hours, they put two tubes in your arm, one that takes the blood out, it goes to a machine. The machine cleans the blood. With the other tube, the blood comes back because that's what your kidneys do. They're supposed to clean the blood. So the dialysis process is very painful. First, I don't understand. I don't know why, but since I went through it, it's very painful. So it doesn't really work out for a kid. Matter of fact, it's not good for anybody. It's not a pleasant process. It's very hurtful. It drains you out. It makes you very weak. This is based on my experience, and I
Right.
know a lot of people who go through dialysis. It makes you very weak. And while the dialysis is happening, your blood pressure goes up and down. So sometimes you feel like throwing up. Sometimes you feel like you're going to pass out. And it's a 4 hour, 3 to 4 hour process. And depending on the situation, sometimes you'll have it twice a week. Sometimes you may have it thrice a week, or sometimes you'll have it every day. Someone who's extremely, in the worst of their medical condition. So I used to have it 3 times a week. And I would go after school. I still remember I had an exam the next day, and I had my book in my hand, and I was studying, and the dialysis was going on, and I'm studying, and my father, he came from office directly to the dialysis center, and you have to eat while they're doing it to you. So he was feeding me. There was a plate of rice, so he's feeding me food while I'm studying for the test, and the dialysis is going on. So, and we used to do it. We were very strong emotionally. I tried to be strong too, because I knew that I have to show positivity and energy, because you have a kid who's barely 12, 13 years old, and is going for these processes. Next day I'm going to school also. Okay, now one step back. To do the dialysis, there is a certain process. You can't just go there and they'll not do dialysis. You have to do a little surgery in the arm first. It's called implanting a fistula. It's again one of those painful processes that I went through. I was 12 years old. I still remember. In the hospital, it's done under general anesthesia. They numb your hand, but you're still awake, so you can sense everything that
Right.
things that are happening. So they did that to me. One time it failed. It didn't work because it takes little time to get mature. They did it right here in my in the wrist. So I don't know how to show this.
Okay.
Right here, they did it. Now it didn't work for some reason, so they did another one in the here. That worked, luckily. But again, I had to go through it twice. Painful process. And then once they put a catheter here, because this takes time to develop, but like I said, if they don't start dialysis soon enough, I may lose my mental imbalance. So
Right.
they put a catheter here in my neck so they can start the dialysis process. Now when I go to school, I have to cover my neck with some kind of cloth or a scarf that I have to wear around. And I'm 10 to 12 years, whatever, 13, 14 years old. So you can imagine kids are not very mature at that age, So you go and everybody's
Right.
curious, what is that? And you are trying to look at yourself through other people's eyes. So other people start treating you different. And that starts affecting your overall, how you feel. You start to feel a little possessive, a little scared and embarrassed to go out in public because you feel out of the place. You feel different because you're going with all that, and you have a thing going on here. It's all with surgery, and then you have a thing here. So you're going to school looking like a display, and everybody's
Right.
curious, and that's, nobody likes to come in the limelight in a bad way or in a different way. Everybody likes to be part of the group. Nobody likes to be the subject of discussion. And I was the subject of discussion. Everybody would ask me, and I would answer I would be okay, but inside I knew, I was like, okay, this is, I mean, I don't want to be. And then the school would get over. I have to go back to the dialysis, and then after dialysis, I'm coming home all very weak. And I still remember when they did this thing here, and I had to lay down to sleep in my house. So you lay down. I couldn't put my neck down because the neck would become stiff, and it was painful. So my father had to like hold my head and lay me down slowly, like very carefully, so it hurt me.
Right.
So dialysis was for 3 to 4 months, and it was very painful.
So you was traumatized and traumatize and re-traumatize and re-traumatize over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Every time you go to a procedure, it was a pain for you.
It was scary. Other than the
Scary.
physical pain of the needle or whatever, that was one part of it. The other part of it was the fear. The I was scared. So when my father used to drive me to the hospital, right? And it was like a 30-minute drive because in India there's a lot of traffic. So I would be scared as we would be getting closer to the destination. I would be happy when we just left home. As we're getting closer to the hospital, my fear would go from as we're reaching close to the hospital, my fear would go up. And by the time we reach the hospital parking and we have to get out and go to the elevator to see Dr. So and so on the fifth floor, I would be like, okay, done. I would feel so uncomfortable and so like I just want to run away from this place and not having to do with any of this. Why am I here when I can be somewhere else and doing something else like other kids? I can be playing cricket or football, or I can be playing video game
Right.
like my other friends. But instead, I'm here. I don't want to be here. That fear is something that I lived with, and I'm sure a lot of people who go through something similar probably experiences. So that is what it was.
So that fear is still today in your life.
Every time. So then after 3 months I got transplant,
Okay,
and then
let's go back to that. Yes, I want to go back. So you got the dialysis.
hmm.
How many dialysis they gave you?
So 3 dialysis per week for 3 to 4 months is how
Wow.
much I got. So it was a lot of sessions, and then there was one last dialysis in the hospital before the transplant. They have to do it. And I remember before the surgery, so me and my mom were, my surgery was done, and you had to admit yourself one day before so they can prepare. And me
Right.
and my mom were admitted. And I still remember they would not let you eat or drink anything for 48 hours. So your system is clean when they operate you.
Right.
So I used to be very thirsty. So they had these little bottles of whatever liquid. You take it, you gargle, and then you spit out. You cannot gulp
Right.
it in because they want your system to be clean. So I still remember they took my mom in the surgery room first, and I remember watching her. She was unconscious. They had probably given her the anesthesia to pass out, and they were taking her. And that was one day when all members of my family were crying because here's the thing: we are four at the time: me, my older brother, my mother, and my father. So one member has the problem, but everybody's suffering. Now,
Yes.
we are here in the hospital. My mother donated me the kidney for our viewers, so that's why she was admitted with me. And I didn't mention. I realized. So she was taken in there. Now you're jeopardizing two people's life to save one. Now here's the thing: you're risking two people's life to save one. Imagine how difficult it was for my father, who's outside. First, he's sending the wife, then he's going to send the son. It's a lot on the table. It's a lot of risk on the table. And I remember everybody was crying, everybody was emotional, but I guess it was God who gave us the courage in that moment to, this is the right thing. And then, well, here I am talking to you. So she went through the room. I remember seeing her, and I was like, oh my, like, it's a little bit of fear, like, because of you, someone else is now suffering. Although she was thinking different because she was a mother, and I'm sure all mothers,
Would
it's
do
would
anything
do
for the
anything.
kids. Yes.
Correct. So, but she was doing what a mother does, and I was looking at it like, yeah, because of me, I'm troubling this lady, you know. So, um, she went, and then I remember after 45 minutes, I was in there, and this nurse started talking to me, like, hello, how are you? What class do you study? And I know after 5 minutes, I was out. The next thing I remember, my eyes were opening up. I saw two faces in front of me: my surgeon, who I'm still in touch with, very nice man from India, and my father. So my eyes were opening up, and I saw him, and I still remember my first reaction was this, like this. That's like I hear like thumbs up. Um, then I was ultimately shifted to an ICU, which is the intensive care unit, where you are kept in observation for 7 days, and there's different things that happen as a part of the
Right.
process. So the patient is kept in there for 7 days. The donor who donates the kidney is kept in there for 2 days because they're not the main subject. The patient is the subject. So but the donors were in the other room. I was in the other room. I still remember on my first day after transplant when I was all wired up, with one thing going here, one thing I'm connected with the machine, one for these, whatever. 100 things going on. I'm all strapped in and plugged in. My mom came wearing her hospital gown, whatever they gave her to wear, and there was a nurse who was accompanying her, so she was holding her hands. She came very slowly and she sat down on a little chair right next to my bed, and she asked me, how are you feeling? The lady has had surgery just as me. Her body was also opened and a kidney was taken out, and then she was stitched back.
Right.
It's not even been 24 hours. She comes to check on me. How am I doing? That's a mother. So
That's the
so
power of the mothers.
that's the power of that's the only power you get when you are a mother, and that comes from the divine, that comes within. So she came, and I remember, so I was there for 7 days. If you have complication, they make you stay for more, but thanks to God, I was able to go home in 7 days and it got better. So then she was ultimately released, and then I think she went home, and then my father would come to see me. They were visiting hours, and my brother would come, and some relatives were also there that supported us, so they came to see me. And then in 7 days, eventually, I got to go home, and I left. But I still remember there was a lot of processes. They put a catheter. You pee in a bag that they change every day. So again, a lot of pains. Geez, remove this, remove that. You were talking about, do you still have that anxiety that I used to have while going to the dialysis doctor? Do I have anxiety? Yes, but it is not the same kind. And
Right.
here's how. Because now what happens is, practically speaking, I go every 2 to 3 months and I get tested just to make sure if the kidney is working right. And then they see the same things like the blood urea, the creatinine that they used to see before when it was all bad. And now it's obviously a lot better than what it used to be. But my fear is still here because every time I get tested, we were talking about this when you're in the car. And let me take you off topic for 2 seconds. If I give you a big piece of diamond and I ask you to hold it in your pocket, and I tell you, you walk from here to the market, you will be holding your pocket very tightly because you're scared what if you lose that diamond. When
Right.
you have something valuable, you have the fear of losing it. Same with my kidney. My mother's kidney that she's given me, which is kind of a second birth, which is why I'm here doing what I'm doing, is
Yes.
very valuable. I live with the fear of losing it, and I'm not. I'm accepting it. It is like, again, like I said, I have the fear of losing it. So that is the fear. So every time I go for my tests, I'm scared. What if? Because it happens.
Yes.
It happens that sometimes kidneys reject due to who knows whatever condition, and then sometimes you have to go back on dialysis and then you start from square one. So I'm scared to see my results. What if something goes bad and I see my numbers are off again and I have to go back to the things I was just talking about, the dialysis and this and that and the processes. So the for 2 seconds. So it's a very good day we're doing the podcast today, because just 3 days ago I gave my sample, and today I was in Orlando, visiting one of the parks, and then I was sitting in a restaurant and I got an email in my phone that your test results have been uploaded. And then here I am. So I'm downloading the report on my phone, and then it's finally press click to open the PDF. So I press click here. But thanks to God and my blessings from my parents and God, and the continuous support from my wife, because she also takes a lot of care for me when it comes to my food habits, and she's on top of my medications and everything. My reports looked good to us, better than what it was. There were a few things we were trying to work on, and we could see the results. So thanks to her and blessings from everybody that it was good. And then immediately I felt a sense of relief. And then I told, okay, let's order a dessert. We were in the restaurant, so so we got ourselves an extra dessert, as a little celebration. So
Right.
that is the fear. The fear is there, but it is different kind of fear. It is the fear of losing what is very valuable to you. That is the fear that I have, to answer your question.
Okay. So let's go back a little bit. Do you also encounter depression going through this um, situation in your life?
What if I may ask you, what is the definition of depression? What is depression?
Depression is like a deepest sadness that you just don't want to do anything. You want to be at in the bed. You don't have no hope for anything. You just don't want to do anything. You just want your life to let it go, let it be. And you have a sadness that you don't know where it's coming from. That's kind of depression. And it's all kind of depressions. It's just one of the kind.
So yeah, I think I definitely experienced this feeling that you're describing to me. Sometimes. So back 2 3 months ago, my reports were starting. There was a little thing that we were trying to work on, and it was not working out. Nothing major, but maybe I was eating a lot of sugar that I shouldn't have been eating. So this protein thing in my report, it was increasing, and it's my doctor told me you gotta watch this, it shouldn't go up. So after trying continuous efforts, okay, I'll eat less rice or I'll cut down on the ice cream. It was not going up, and so I felt a point where I was like, you know what, I don't feel like I'm too tired. I've been doing this for way too long. I have tried. I have been doing this for way too long since 13. And I'm 24 years old now. I'm not saying that I'm very very old, but it's almost 10 years that I've been dealing with this, and now I'm tired. I don't. I want to get rid of this feeling of worrying and worrying and worrying. I want to live free. And I felt like,
but
you know
but
what,
you
whatever,
but
let go. Yeah.
but you know that feeling to feel free, you are the one, is the only one can give that freedom back to yourself. And you have to trust God. You said that you believe God, so trust him that whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen, right? So you just have to just let it be and enjoy your life and not thinking every 3 months. I understand completely where you're coming from, because I did have a trauma over a stent they put me in my splenic artery, because they found that I have an aneurysm, and I thought I was gonna die. So I understand what you're saying. We think that we're gonna die, and we go through a lot of procedures and a lot of tests that you don't know when is this is gonna stop. And when they put me the stent, I owe every time I go to the doctor, it happens the same thing like you. Stress, anxious, and a lot of, very worried. What are they gonna tell me? And every time I think I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. It was 4 years of that mentally torture, just thinking about that, until one day I said, I need to free myself from this, because then I feel like I'm in jail of myself, thinking all the time, every time I go to a test, that I need to do a procedure. Like, for example, right now I'm due to have a procedure, and I'm longing that to go, because it's very painful and I don't like it, and the sensation is terrible. So I said, you know what? I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm gonna see how long I can wait to do the test. So I understand your point completely, and the one who's gonna give the freedom is yourself, to not worry anymore. You have to do a lot of stuff, like your food, the way you eat, the way you conduct your life. You need to do, the adjustment that you be doing. But if you keep doing what you're doing, you're not gonna have any more problems. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I not only understand, but I agree with you because I remember speaking about this when we met, a few weeks ago at my workplace. you're right, because everybody who's born has his or her fate already decided, and there's nothing you can do to change it. All you can do is do your level best and let the rest happen the way it is going to happen, if that makes any sense. So I, you're right. What will happen. You do your best, because you worrying will not change anything.
No.
Will not it Other than making it worse, will not
Yes.
change anything. So, but again, human being, right? End of the day, human being,
Right.
not a, I mean, machine, or not something that works on a specific set of rules. Human beings function on emotions and situational, reactions, and similar things. So you can explain yourself a lot, you can meditate, and I think I just have to work on it, because I know the more you practice, I think it's a practice. You have to practice the
Yes.
fact, this habit of it the habit of believing that I'm just going to let it go and I'm going to do my best. Some people are good at it, some people are not good at it, like myself. I would tell myself 100 times, but when it comes back to doing the test, here I am back to square one, doing the same thing again, driving myself bananas, driving my wife bananas, calling my parents, on the video call, driving them bananas. So I drive everybody crazy. But then they all try to tell me, and people, nice people like you tell me that, well, which is again helping. So I just think it's a practice that needs to be done again and again. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I think I'm getting better at it. Trust me, because it used to be a lot worse before. It's getting a little better now. So it's something to work on. It's a good habit that you need to practice. It's to let go, do your best. Like, it's a simple formula, like like mathematics formula. Let go, do your best. That's the recipe, and the life, the cake of your life will come out nice. So I'm going to try doing that.
So remember that we also talk about that you also have a group that you enjoy, a group that also they have kidney transplant. And I want to ask you this, like when you talk to those people in your like in your meetings or in the chats that you guys had, that you encounter the same things to everybody, like in emotional wise, like people also get anxious like we do when we went through a trauma, a physical trauma, like the ones that we already went through.
So yeah, Gloria, like you mentioned, there's a group. There's very limited number of people that I'm in touch who had their transplant at the same hospital from the same doctor at the same time, as I did. And there's this one lady that I'm, particularly more in touch with in compared to other people now. I being honest with you, I refrain myself from being too much in touch, and the reason is I get scared, because everybody's body is different and things happen. Sometimes she used to, initially after the surgery, she would share with me. Very nice lady, trust me, she's one of the sweetest persons I met. She even got married, after the surgery, and she's older to me. She got married after surgery. She invited me. She always treated me like her younger brother. But sometimes things would happen to her. Let's say she gets a fever, and then her reports went up. So she would, hey, listen, I just wanted to let you know that I had a fever and my reports went up. She would share with good intentions to make me
Right.
aware, or maybe she was trying to tell me of the things that I shouldn't do, mistakes she may have done. But how I would see it is, I would get scared, to be honest with you. I would be like, why is she telling me this? I don't want to know, because it started. So, okay, so we would have different, these things would happen. Now, now every time her message would come, hello, and I would pick my phone, and my phone would make a noise like you got a notification, and I would pick my phone to see, and I would see her name, and I would say hi. The fear in my heart would go up.
Right.
I'm like, now, and in my mind, I'm like, what happened now? Because I
Yes.
know she's got the same diamond as I do. Her father, I remember her father was the one who donated the kidney to her. So it's the same, it's the same scenario. So I was like, now what happened? I was scared to reply hi, because not, and I'm sorry for if I'm sounding, not that I don't want to talk to her. She's, like I said, she's very nice, but I was scared because if I reply hi, and then she will ask me, how are you? I'll say, I'm good. How are you? And then she would tell me, well, I'm good, but there's something that happened I need you to tell about, that I need you to talk about, and that's where I would be like, so I, you know, trying to, that's what, those are the things that would happen. So I would hold myself back.
So, talking about this physical trauma after a transplant or after a procedure that, like in my case, the stent in your body. So you would agree with me that a lot of people have traumas, and after they done it, whatever they done it, and the transplant is fine, and they, like in my case, the stent is fine, and everything is functioning the right way. We still afraid. We still anxious. Do
Oh,
you
of
agree
course,
with
I
that?
agree. I agree with you 1,000%, and I think there's a very valid reason for it. I mean,
Yes.
you're a human being, and God has put the software in your head of fear and happiness, and this is just one of our features. It's fear. We get scared, and then we have trauma, and then we are haunted by all these things that are happening to us, and then we think, oh, what if they happen to us in the future also? Now, some people think this more than other people. Some people are good when it comes
Right.
to handling. Some people are bad, and I think I'm bad. But I agree with you. It is a very valid, realistic, genuine thing that happens to people when they go through something, let's say a physical procedure or anything, and sometimes it may not be physical. Sometimes it may be like very, a short and sweet example when somebody drives and has a car accident. Some people
Right.
never drive again because
Right.
they're
Yes.
scared of getting back on the steering wheel. They feel like something similar will happen again. What is that? That is trauma because of an incident that happened in the past, which was very unfortunate and horrific, left a kind of impression on this particular person where this person is scared to do the same thing again. That is the same trauma as what we're talking about. So it is, I agree with you. It happens. It's, yeah.
I think the strongest feeling, or the strongest feeling and emotion that stays in your body for a long time if you don't treat it is fear. And fear is part of survival mode, and you need it when, for situations like when you feel like when you are in the jungle, and you hear something walking in the bush, and you are fear, you run, right? You feel fear and you run. Or you are driving a car and you see a car coming to you, the fear, like you make you go in another direction so you don't crash. So fear, for me, fear goes double. It works like double ways. Like you need it, but when you get it, and if you don't work it, it's gonna stay in your body for a long time, and it's very it take a toll from your body, from your mind, because the fear stays there, stays there, and you don't know how to remove it. And a lot of people even say, oh, they have a car accident and they don't want to drive it anymore. How was the emotion for that person? How was the fear was in like huge to for that person not drive anymore.
That's the kind of impact that happened, that now they are they get chicken legs when it comes to driving again, or whatever it may be,
Yes.
or I when a person like me has to go back in the hospital for some reason, I get very scared. And someone in my family also went through similar kidney, but they're a lot older than me. So once I had to accompany them to the hospital,
Uh-huh.
and I said, you know what, I'm more than happy to drive you, but I cannot go with you inside because that conversation that's happening between you and the doctor right now, and I pray to God that you get better, but I've been there before. And this takes me to the past of what I came out of, and I don't want to go back into it again. But this, whatever's happening right now, which is very important for you, it's not good for me because it takes me back to to a world where I have come out of, and I don't want to go back.
Because it triggers you. It triggers you the
Yes.
moments. A smell can trigger you. The way the doctors say the things that can trigger you, the way the nurse come in, they can trigger you. There's so many things that can trigger you when you go to trauma, when you have a deep trauma. And I would say your story is very is very it was very traumatic, but also it teach you something in life. And I like what you said, that you have the diamond and you don't want that diamond to go. So it means that you appreciating you appreciating that your mother give you that kidney, and also you appreciating life, but you also needs to let it go to be able completely fully grateful for what happens to you.
I agree. I think I 100% agree with you. Because the more tight you hold on to it, the more you'll be, you won't be free here. You'll be so occupied, and you'll run out of mental strength, and you will not be able to function the way you should be functioning. And I don't think that's a nice thing to do. You should not put load on you should not put too much load on anything. I mean, if you put too much
Nada.
load on something, it'll break.
Yeah.
So, there was one thing you mentioned is very nice. You're talking about how a smell can remind you of different things. So I'll
Yes.
give you a little scenario if it's okay. I work in Audi, right? It's a beautiful showroom. You've been there. We
Yes.
have nice cars. So we have this, when the customers leave and everything is gone, we have a cleaning company. I think they have, contracted whatever. They come and they start cleaning the whole place. They would vacuum it and clean it. So once it was like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the night, and this people were already clean and everything was done, and we had to shut the showroom and go home. But
Right.
this one day they used this whatever they use, this liquid to mop the floor. That smell of that liquid reminded me of that smell they use in the hospital. So it was in the COVID season, so they were using very, to clean the germs, so this place is free of germs, so the business can be running. So, and they use the same thing in the hospital to clean, because hospital is a place where there's a lot of contamination can happen, and things can,
Right.
because people with a lot of diseases are there. So this germ, this anti-germ, whatever. So this, I can promise you, this lady that used this chemical was the same chemical that was used in my hospital in India that had a transplant. I'm pretty sure it's the same brand. And that smell, when I was walking by, like, I don't like the smell. It's taking me back to the hospital, and I want to be here. So I immediately, it's funny. I told my boss, boss, hey boss, my wife is calling me. I think she's upset with me. Let me go home, see what happened. So I clocked and I went home. Like, I don't want to be here right now. And the next day I came. Obviously, it had been whatever 8, 9, 10 hours, and the smell had gone away. But it is very correct. Little things like smell, music, one song maybe, or
Yes.
a particular similar situation can trigger you and take you back to what you were fighting in the past to
Yes.
come out, and so I agree with you.
So the way for you to overcome that trauma or that smell is to go and smell again, and understand that thank you to that smell you are here, and you are grateful, because at least you're smelling that, because if not, you was not here.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
to overcome that is you have to go through them, and okay, I remember those days. I remember it was painful, but I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be working. I'm grateful to have a family, to be married, and in the future have a family too. So there's a lot of things to be grateful, and there's a lot of things to work to be able to let it go and to let it be. Like for example, when with the stent I have, it was 4 years. Like you, like I need to go to the doctor. Oh my God, I don't want to go. And it's like, again, we're going to go through this procedure, but we just do it like, for example, last year. No, we already passed 2 years, 2 years. Like, it's like always trying to make the excuses to not do the test. And one day my mother said to me, I don't know why you're so worried about that. I had three stents in my colon, and I don't even remember I have them. When she said that, I said, well, if she can't do that, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to forget I have that. So now I feel much better. Now I'm not afraid that much to go to the doctor. And I feel like I already overcome that part of the trauma, that it was also consuming me a lot just to think about that all the time. I want to die. I'm going to die. Oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And then when you just like evolve your life and say, why I'm so scared to die? you know, when you die, you don't even know if you die. So why I'm so
It's like
scared to
sleeping.
die?
It's like
It's like sleeping.
it's like you don't know, you don't exist. You're unconscious. I agree, Gloria. One thing my father used to teach me, and I think every parent teach their children something. So he would tell me that anything that scares you, he actually, or let's say, or anything that bothers you, let's say you, and I think he used to tell me for my school homework, like, I would come from school, I would have my homework, and I'd be like, oh, it's my holidays, but I have to do this work. So he would tell me, instead of running away from it, turn around, look at it in the eye, and deal with it and remove it. First, tell that problem that you're not scared of the problem, because
Exactly.
if you tell the problem that you're scared of it, it will continue to scare you more. And turn around.
Until you learn, because that's the lesson
Yeah,
for you to feel that way, for you to overcome and say, I'm done with you. Done. I'm not
exactly.
scared
I'm
about
not,
anything.
I'm not scared of you anymore. Let's deal with you. You have a problem? Come, let's talk about it right now. I'm not going to be scared of you anymore. Little again example. So we're talking about, I'm from India, right? So in India you have a lot of street dogs, stray dogs, and dogs
Right.
everywhere. So once I was playing cricket and coming back from home, and suddenly these three dogs start running behind us. They start chasing you sometimes, and I'm running. I'm running with all my life, I'm running. But I'm like, I remember what my father said. They're running behind me because I'm running. I'm telling those dogs that I'm scared. I'm like, wait a minute. So I stopped and I turned around. And then I did like my hand like this, like I'm gonna, and they got scared and then they ran away. And I learned it works. If you tell the other thing, be it a feeling or a dog or whatever you're scared of, whatever may be scaring you, the smell is scaring you, that it will trigger you to go back, whatever it is, a human being. You look at them in the eye and say, yeah, what is the worst you can do, buddy? I'm not scared of you. Let's deal with it. Let's solve this. Because the worst that can happen is nothing. I mean, what are they going to do? And like you said, not that it's going to happen, but death, what is death? Death is like sleeping. I mean, it's like, okay, it's a switch off. You're gone. You're
Gone.
not going to feel anything. So why being scared of it so much? So yeah,
So, Rohan, you're going to do that with yourself about every 3 months? You're going to face it and say, well, I'm scared about this?
yeah.
I can hear you. I can hear you. You hear me? I don't hear you. No, I don't hear you. Right. The-
You hear me now?
yes.
Okay.
So,
Yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop. I'm going to look every 3 months. I'm going to look at it in the eye, and I'm going to tell it, okay, you want to test? Let's do the test. No problem. Let's deal with it.
let's do it. And
Yeah.
when is the next test? Easy. You
Yeah.
put in the calendar, that's the day I need to do this.
Yeah. Before I would like call my doctor's office and keep postponing my appointments. Can you do it like maybe 15 more days? Trust me, this was me. I would call the doctor's office. What about next Monday? Because Monday is my day off. Let's do it in Monday. And I would delay my test. I wouldn't want to do my test. And like, let's say I plan today that tomorrow morning I'll get up and do my test. But in the morning I'll tell my wife, you know what, I don't want to do those tests. Let me do it next week. Let me at least live for this week, because what if I cannot live? What if my reports tell that I am done and I cannot live anymore? So let me enjoy one more week before I put myself through it. But now, you know what? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Let me just look at it and get done with it instead of prolonging it. And by prolonging it, I'm letting it scare me even more. So.
Right. So listen to your father, that is a master of life. So he told you that. So start doing it. And about the smell, you should go tomorrow and look for the people who clean the cars. Hey, show me the freaking.
Yeah, let me take a sniff.
Let me smell and then say, I confront you.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is the plan, and that is exactly what I would be. That again, that is the plan, that is the intention. But the rest
Right.
comes down to my sincerity of actually dealing with, not just talking about it, but actually when it comes to that, really fighting it. That's the only thing I can do to help myself. So yeah.
Right. Okay, we are 54 minutes. Now it's like the hours run like a very fast here. So I want before we go, I want you with one word or a sentence that you can say something today to the people that are going through the same situation we went through with the physical traumas, with procedures traumas. What you will say to people tonight before we go?
In one sentence, I would say them, well, in two, 3 words: accept the situation, be okay with it, and do realize that there are a lot of people that go through something similar or even worse. So thank God for whatever He's given you. Two, do the right thing. Don't worry about the outcome, or don't worry about the things that are not in your hands. If it's not in your hands, it's not your headache. Just do the right thing. Do what you can do what's in your hand. And third, just keep going. Be happy, be positive, because you have limited time on this planet or in this life. Life consists of 4 days only. Don't waste 2 days in worrying. Focus, try to live in those 4 days. Don't waste 2 days in worrying and the rest 2 days in crying, and try to live those 4 days. So, three things only that I would say to them: accept, and don't worry about things that are not in your hands, and be happy, be positive, and fight. And again, the fourth thing: fight. Look, turn back, look at those things that scare you in the eye, and show them your punch. Show them that you're not scared of them anymore. When you do that, you'll feel a lot better, and your trauma should go down, your stress level should go down, your anxiety should go down, and you should feel more happy, which should be the ultimate purpose of anybody's life, because life is short and sweet. Make sure you're happy.
This is awesome. Thank you so much. I want to extend an invitation again to you about maybe to talk in 6 months about this subject again, and if you transform your life means a past 6 months, like every 3 months you have to have a test. So 6 months from here to see how you if you confront it and if you feel better and you let it go, and so for you to tell everybody that you really got responsible for your own life and say I'm not scared anymore, and see how you deal, so that way people can hear your testimony and also a lot of people can heal at the same time. What do you think?
I think it's great. I think we should do it.
And also next Monday you want to come back and we're going to talk about cars and the way we
Downgrade, and how
downgrade.
materialistic things affect our life, and how we. I think we should do it. I think
Okay.
that's another interesting topic, and we should definitely talk about it.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, Rohan, to be on Unbreakable Life with Glory, the podcast. It's
Right.
an honor to have you. And the only
Pleasure.
thing I just want for you is to feel better and to conquer and face the fear and say, no more. I'm not scared of you.
Thank you. I thank you so much for having me. And it feels very nice to have spoken, and feel the way I am. Thank you so much for letting me be here, and I truly truly appreciate it. Thank you, and I hope the same for you.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to put you in the green room. I'm going to close the show. And if
All
you
right.
can wait for me, good. If you have to go, you can go and we can talk in another moment. It's not a
No
problem.
problem. I'll wait for you. All right.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody. Thank you
you.
for having me. All right. Bye.
Bye bye. So there was a very special show today. Something completely different of what I always do. And I kind of like this here, Angeline. Thank you so much to be here today, Angeline. Great life tonight, love of value and great information. Well, yes, it's like it's another person with another traumas, the way people deal with traumas, different situations, and at the same time, we all go through the same emotions sometimes, and that's good to be able to talk about them so other people recognize that and say, well, I go through the same thing. uh, I'm completely normal, because sometimes we think we are the only ones that goes through some stuff, and we think we are unique, and we are not unique. We are like everybody else. that we have different ways to do stuff, and the traumas and the emotions sometimes are the same, but the difference is that how people resolve them or how people conduct their lives around the traumas. So today was a very special guest for me because I did love the conversation that I have with him like 2 weeks ago when he told me about the same fears and the same situations I feel sometimes when I had this stent put on in my body. So I'm so happy for the show today. I normally don't come on Mondays, but like I said in the beginning, if my guest needs to be on Monday or Tuesday or Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday, I'm going to do it because the mission is not about Wednesday. The mission is about whatever is happening and whatever is needed. So I'm here today, and thank you so much, everybody, to be here in Unbreakable Life with Glory. And remember, life is too short, and don't be afraid to die, or don't be afraid of anything. We always gonna have something. We gonna deal with stuff, but we need to confront them because that's the bigger lessons that are behind in those traumas, in those situations. So thank you so much. This is Gloria Goldberg, and thank you so much to be here. I love you, and remember to like it and to share and to subscribe. And thank you so much for your support. I love you all. And remember, thank you to be an Unbreakable Life with Glory, where we talk about depression, anxiety, and PTSD in a holistic way and natural way to always make you feel better. Bye-bye.